Thanks, everybody. Haven't these speakers already been inspiring and exciting? I know I'm, right? Well, we're going to continue in that same vein. I invite our next set of panelists to join us. Our next panel, which is on evidence to propel impact and accountability, is going to be moderated by Maria Flynn, who's the president and CEO of Jobs for the Future. And she'll be joined by Gerlando Jackson at Michigan State University, Dean of the College of Education, Wes Hall at Battelle, Una King at Uber, and Dean Girdman from American Institutes of Research. And I know Maria will give a little bit more of an introduction to these incredible panelists. And thank you for being with us this morning.
Good morning. As shared, my name's Gerlando Jackson, and I'm going to share comments today from a couple of roles that I hold at Michigan State. One as the Dean for the College of Education, where we have had for over 30 years a joint set of programs, individuals that we hire, and initiatives and degree programs with natural science. And then also in my professor role, where I direct the Organizational Disparities Research Laboratory, and we actually study interventions designed to broaden participation in science and medicine. At Michigan State, we are very much so committed to access and equity as a pathway to excellence, which is rooted in our land grant mission. And we certainly do take that in a very serious way, and I'm looking forward to engaging you in this session and the rest of the day.
Maybe start with you. How do you think of this kind of dual priority and connected imperative of equity and excellence?
Thank you. I think it's a very logical connection because there's very strong social science evidence that demonstrates that a diversity of thought drives innovation. We've got that evidence in place. We also have very strong evidence that diverse teams create some of the best innovation ideas that we have come to appreciate. So there's very strong evidence that diversity is not just a moral imperative, but it's actually a competitive advantage that we should be harnessing, which kind of goes back to a comment that was mentioned in the session before. I think we also want to ensure we tackle trust in this process so that we aren't disrupted in this wonderful strategy, but recognizing that those that we want data from may have had a historical concern and challenge with providing that data, right? So data privacy and protection and matters of that sort. So ensuring we have a plan and a strategy in place, because this would be outstanding and wonderful, but those we need the data from might be least likely to want to provide those data.
Jenna, back to your point, great point about trust. What are initial steps that can be taken to build that trust? How does that really start to take shape, whether it's at a community level or across organizations? How do you think about that?
I would think a community level engagement process would be quite useful, because explaining to the general public what we do with data when we collect it and how it can be useful and what position it would put us in from a decision-making standpoint, but also a comparative standpoint would be, I think, tremendous. And sometimes I think we might take for granted, if we are in a university or in spaces like this, that the collection of data, the use of data is clearly understood, and those that we tend to ask data for might never read the reports that we generate. So some community engagement and educational process, and being very clear about the do no harm commitments that we have when we go through our human subjects approval process would also, I think, be useful too. And just a second, my comment would have been, if I had the mic, similar, that just deliverable outcomes. I mean, you've got a lot of talent in this room and time, and it'd be really great that in 18 months, based on those objectives that we think should be achieved, that we demonstrate that it can be, that this group comes together and says diversity matters. It's important enough that we will prioritize it just like any other objective of our organization.
I love that. Well, I want to thank our panelists so much for their comments. I really believe that, you know, this piece of impact, accountability, data is what is going to help us drive the conversation and drive true systemic change, because I think it is the actionable insights that is what changes minds and hopefully can help make this conversation even more powerful and embraced across country. So thank you all for your leadership, and it's wonderful to be partnering with all of you in this great effort.